Hello.
Hello. Should change our names. Do a check on my video. Excellent. What do our polls look like?
Cool. And it looks like even though we're both hosts, or we're both in NCCR's account, I can do polls, and I don't know what was up yesterday.
I think it's whoever logs in second with it logged in there. So I cannot, and I'm going to take myself out, but that's okay. I've got the full functions, but you can do polls and you can do breakouts.
I don't know. I cannot do
some of those BIA resources as well. And another example, I just wanted to mention, I think leveraging capacity came up several times, and I think Cody was pretty eloquent in saying that really developing those relationships with local forests and speaking with them and working together creatively is a good way to address priorities. So an emphasis on that was part of the discussion. And there were a lot of others. Again, in the interest of time, won't go through them all, but I think we had a good start yesterday, and we hope to build on that today and next week, and take advantage of this cadre that we're seeing that's coming together here at participants and SMEs on TFPA and collaborative projects. So again, thank you for your participation, and we'll get going and do more here today. So thanks. And Chaz, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks for that nice picture of some of the rest of the country in the background there. Stephanie, do you want to go ahead and give us a little bit of info on the Google link to the toolbox and what's in it?
Yes, sorry about that. I needed to unmute. So most of you hopefully were able to access the Google links. I'm going to plug into your chat, or Alyssa will plug into your chat box right now those links in case you were having trouble navigating them through the fun and exciting Zoom information that we've been getting. So I just want to show you really quickly what that looks like. If you're wondering, these resources are items that we might reference throughout today, as well as items we really want to recommend you taking home and using as we move through this process. So when you open up your link, you'll get to this shared stewardship, and in there we have multiple folders. You have your agenda at the top. It's altering a little bit, but the times are still good, and the general themes for each day are consistent. So that agenda will remain fairly current, and we'll update it. If you're interested in the presentations that we shared yesterday and throughout, at the end of each day, we will be posting the presentations into those presentations folders, including the tech overview. So if you're struggling with Zoom, you can also access that and get into there that way. And at the end of this PowerPoint in particular, it has the contact information for Forest Service folks working on this project, the Intertribal Timber Council, as well as Alyssa and myself for any tech support you might need. And then resources is where we really want you to start thinking through some of the tools we have, and particularly in today. If you haven't already looked in there, this has our engagement approach and framework for the discussions, but the really fun and nitty-gritty details here are items that have been developed over the years with Forest Service and Intertribal Timber Council. They're also available on the Intertribal Timber Council website, but we put them here for easy access. The resources list is, we are continuing to update that. We got some resources yesterday that we're going to start incorporating into that. This is just a Word document, and it has hyperlinks to the report we're going to hear a little bit about from Jim on collaboration that was developed by Intertribal Timber Council. It has links to PowerPoints and videos in case you missed some of yesterday or you just wanted a recap. There are some in-depth videos that have some of the same information linked into that resources list. The best practices guide is the tool for implementing a 638 authority with tribal cooperators under USDA Forest Service. So that has the template for the 638 agreement tool, as well as some questions and answers and other details. I will also point out, we had some questions that were asked yesterday. They were addressed in the chat. but a lot of those questions are actually available in that best practices guide. So if you haven't had a chance, take a look at that. We will provide a crosswalk of those questions that were answered in the best practices and then provide some responses to those that weren't next week. But we wanted to let you know in the meantime, you can go there as a resource. And then most importantly for today is this TFPA tips and handout. This includes some background information on TFPA if you're still struggling with understanding it and how it works, since it is a key component to what we're talking about, both in terms of intent of bringing tribal priorities to management, as well as tools. It has a TFPA draft proposal in there where you can fill in the blank, which we encourage you maybe downloading and thinking through and using as your notes today. And it also has information on what is required by each of those items. There's also a draft letter to the forest supervisor with the proposal. So it really is intended that by the end of the next 2 weeks, next 3 sessions, if you don't already have a TFPA proposal, you could fill in the blanks and get to there through some discussions during our workshop, as well as maybe some side discussions with your partners. And then this notes worksheet is really just a handy dandy tool if you're a type of person that likes to take notes and wants some structure. These are some things we're going to be focusing on today. So it's got some big ticket take homes. What are some things that you're hearing that are important to you? It's got questions that you still want answered so you can track them and let them know. We'll be tracking the chat box. And then particularly today is identifying interests. What are the tribe's interests? What are their priorities in terms of risks to address? And where are some priority work areas or funding sources or areas of consistency and interest from Forest Service? So just a little table to help you fill out. And again, the proposal template for the TFPA, and I've highlighted the pieces that you would need to fill out and information that we're hoping to help you with today. So those are just some of the resources. I'll be clicking in additional items in the chat. The other resource that we will be using today is this tribal connections map. And hopefully that is sharing appropriately. And this map, we've pulled portions of this that we're going to work through in your breakouts, and your breakout facilitators will help you with that. But you can also just go to this website and click in your tribe, your tribal lands, your Forest Service lands. There is a drop-down layer list. It includes, we will not be using the land and session, Indian land sessions, just because it gets a little busy on this map, but you can incorporate regions, you can incorporate grasslands. Right now, what we've got set up for you though is tribal territories and Forest Service lands. So that's a great tool. I'll be plopping that in the chat box as well.
Thanks, Stephanie. Alyssa, you want to pull up the test on what Stephanie just presented? I'm just kidding. We're going to go, what I want to make a point of that joke was that we're going to go through this a little bit more in depth later. So that's just an overview to let you know what's there, but we're going to keep touching into it today. So let's just sort of a first pass knowing that we're going to come back to it. Check-in today. We're going to do a couple things quick. As part of our managing the web gremlins that came into our space yesterday, we are going to have you as check-in today, rename yourselves by your name and a group that you're going to affiliate yourself with. So for folks that, you know, everybody that was here yesterday, we've done a little jiggling on the names. So Alyssa, can you pull up those by group names? So what we want you to do is if you could, and I'm not sure if folks will look up where you see the mute button on your image, up to the right, there's 2 blue boxes. One is mute and one is 3 dots. If you click the 3 dots, you'll, the third drop down is rename. So what we'd like you to do is rename yourself with your name and adding the group that you would be associated with for the breakouts today. Now, recognizing, like we said before, if you find at the end of today that the grouping isn't quite right, we can move you around. It's not a forever commitment here. So, but for today, we do want to group folks intentionally to help with the tracking. And your name having that on it also means that if we have any tech glitches, that Alyssa can get you directly into that room and avoid any of the lags we had yesterday. If you have any questions, go ahead and load them in the chat box, and the design team will help you with that. I think you can see, let's see, mine says facilitator now. I'm trying to think of someone who you can see if you hover over their names. Glenn, if you go over his name, should show, I think, are you in Eastern, Glenn?
He's facilitator.
Yes.
Okay.
And Eastern.
Facilitator Eastern.
So if just go ahead then and click those three dots to the right, select rename, and add the group that you will be in to the end of your name. The next thing I'd
Tim
like,
is modeling very well. He's got Tim Miller Great Lakes.
go Tim. All right. Is Colorado in the Southwest group?
They can go in the mountain or the Southwest. I would recommend they take a look and figure it out when they're in there.
Okay, and we can move, that's one of those ones where we can help get you into the right room if that doesn't work. The second thing we'd like to do today for a check-in is a readiness pulse check. How you feeling coming out of yesterday and understanding where we're headed today. Alyssa, do you want to pull up that poll for me? Your choices are, we got this, and I need help and backup. And that way, that'll also help us get a sense of where everyone's at today to help balance out how we're doing. Or as I like to say, I need backup singers and dancers. Do you have that poll to pull up?
I think we're trying to pull it up. That one might have gotten lost in the shuffle of fun.
Richard, so all you got to do in terms of getting yourself into the group is just rename yourself. Right now, we're just renaming ourselves. And later on, when we move into the breakouts, we'll go through how to get into those. And I'm
So,
appreciating folks being transparent about where they're at, because that's how we can help you the best.
so Chaz, let's do this. Let's help folks work with the reactions. So we got this. Let's see some thumbs up. That's the bottom tab. We got some visual thumbs up. You can also do a thumbs up in the participant bag. Great, we got this. Looking good. And if you don't got this, that's fine. We'll have an opportunity for you as well. Got a lot of folks feeling good today, so that's great. All right, and then in terms of need a little bit more help today, still kind of getting there, thinking through. Let's just we're going to give you some love today. So give some love, or you can have the option on the side in your participants. If that's where you look, you're just kind of there. That's okay. And if you're feeling really lost, we're going to ask you to just have some humor and we'll get you there. So there you go. Little laughy smiley face if that's where we feel like we are. Or you can click no, I'm not there. I'm still not there, but that's okay. That's what today's for. So sorry about that. We'll just adjust, and it looks like a lot of you are feeling in a good place, and some of you are just, you're getting there, so that's okay. So if you're going to need a little bit more help, just a quick reminder that your support staff is the facilitators. If they can't answer your questions, they will get our subject matter experts into the room. And do a call out in your breakouts. A lot of these breakouts, we have folks that with experience. So do a call out if you have a question. There are folks in the room that aren't listed as our subject matter experts for this workshop, but they've done this work. So feel free to ask those around you. That's part of this endeavor, is to learn from each other. And if you do have experience and you feel like you can answer a question, answer it. If you're not sure about the accuracy, say, I think, and then we can just help you and double check. It's all about learning and verifying together. So
Thanks, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
And I want to give a shout out to Stephanie right now, who said, I'm in the Great Basin heading to mountain. For anyone else in the same area, that's modeling moving from facilitated to facilitator. So way to go, Stephanie. Finding the folks and kind of self-organizing there is exactly what we looked at. All right, so let's move now into, and again, all day long, if light up that chat box. If you want to bring your voice into the room, raise your hand. We'll work on that and getting you in there. We're going to move through our dynamic shifting a little bit today, a little more casual presentation around collaboration and project management for TFPA success, kind of starting to model our workspace. We're going to go through that for the next 30 minutes. Jim Derglo and Cody Desatel will be with us. Cody's going to be back and forth with us a little bit this morning with the other engagement. We'll go through a little, I'll go through a little bit on project management. And then Jim and Cody will talk a little bit about the TFPA report that was mentioned earlier about some case studies and learning. Then we're going to move into breakouts. We're going to move into breakouts for 45 minutes, identifying risk and resource protection by geographic area. And then we're going to take a look at those templates and move through those a bit. We'll then do an overview of week 2, our adjourn, and then move into our facilitated work session, that 1-to-1 afterwards. So if you have any questions on process or anything that's going on during the day, please just use the chat box and we'll jump in and help. And with that, I'd like to move over to Jim. Or any accommodation needs also. Move over to Jim Derglo and welcome him today to introduce himself and walk through some of the top collaboration do's and don'ts from the boards and do's from the report. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. Again, good morning, everybody. And thanks for joining us on this cross-boundary collaboration workshop that the ITC and the Forest Service has put together. Been a lot of work in the background, setting this workshop up to facilitate, additional or more cross-boundary collaboration work. As was mentioned earlier, there's a ton of information available on the ITC website under the Issues and Projects tab. Under Issues, there's a title for TFPA, or Tribal Forest Protection Act, and there's a ton of information. One of those, that John Crockett mentioned yesterday was the ITC 2013 TFPA analysis report on fulfilling the promise of the TFPA of 2004. So that's a great piece of work there. If you get time, take a look at that. Also, in late 2018, the ITC prepared a report titled Cross-Boundary Collaboration Between Tribes and the United States Forest Service, Success Stories from Forest Systems Using the Tribal Forest Protection Act. This is also available under that tab that I mentioned before. And again, there's a ton of information available on past workshops and report that ITC has done. Folks like Bill Tripp, Cody Sifford, Daryl Claremont, Dave Lucas, Dave Haddis, Jim Grice, Keith Carnes, Nolan Colgrove Sr., Sonia Tamez, our own Stephanie Lucero has put a lot of work in those past workshops and working with ITC, and Stephen Dringa. They've all provided invaluable support in assembling the information that is available under that ITC webpage. And we found in doing that report and putting that report together, we found a lot of good work being done and many working relationships across the country. However, we focused on 4 tribal Forest Service partnerships. We looked at projects that Salish Kootenai were doing in Northwest Montana with the Lolo National Forest and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on the National Bison Range. The initial TFPA project was called the McGinnis Cabin Integrated Resource Stewardship Project. Now that was a 1,000-acre commercial thinning with slash piling and burning, road maintenance, and road decommissioning. Now, after completion of that project, the tribes and the Forest Service continue to do work under RTRL funding, Reserve Treaty Rights Fuels Funding Initiative. That's funding that comes down through the Department of Interior through the BIA to tribes that are doing work on non-trust lands. We also looked at the Yakama Nation, the work that the Yakama Nation was doing on the Wenatchee National Forest, a project called the Dry Restoration Project, or the Dry Restoration Stewardship Project, which was initiated through the TFPA Authority. An integrated resource stewardship contract included 548 acres of commercial thinning to improve forest health and reduce megafire risk across the landscape. We also looked at some of the work that Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe and the Chippewa National Forest were doing. The forest and the tribe share ownership of most of the land within the reservation. Nearly 90% of the reservation is located within the National Forest, and the reservation makes up nearly 1/2 of the Chippewa National Forest. They have several projects going. The Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe look at success as a long-term goal and call for a shift in how land management is done across that landscape. We also looked at the Karuk tribe and the work that they were doing with the Six Rivers National Forest. The tribe is co-lead of the Western Klamath Restoration Partnership, which has identified a 1.2 million acre planting area and is in the process of implementing the Sums Bar Integrated Fire Management Project. The project will apply a variety of proposed manual and mechanical fuels reduction treatments and prescribed burning across 5,500 acres. Some big takeaways from that report include relationships matter. Building good working relationships build trust and understanding. Good relationships require early engagement with tribes in planning, respect, and constant effort and communication from both sides and at multiple levels of each organization. And I mentioned this yesterday too, relationships are the bedrock of successful fuels reduction projects, wildland fire suppression efforts, protection of important tribal cultural resources, and gaining a greater understanding of the regional cultural landscape. The greater understanding has led to a tremendous trust and improved communication between partners. Another takeaway is be persistent, right? These things take time. It may not happen in 1 year or even 2. You need to keep that in mind. The NEPA compliance process alone can take a number of years. Speaking to the tribes, you may be working with different Forest Service representatives over the term of the project. You should also keep that in mind. Another thing is that Forest Service contracting is complicated. I went through a huge or steep learning curve, as we took the role of being a contractor. You need to get up to speed on the contract mechanism and the requirements to contract with the Forest Service. Expect bumps in the road, challenges. Be prepared and committed to work through them. Another thing that came out of that report is success can be defined in different ways. It can be, completing a project that reduces risk of catastrophic fire, providing employment opportunities for tribal members, building relationships with federal and non-federal partners to plan and accomplish fuel reduction work, building projects that accomplish common goals. Success should be viewed as a two-way street, where both parties should benefit. Or again, success may not be measured by the completion of a single project, but built over an extended period of time over many years. Another thing that comes out is that you need to find champions on each side. Identify people that are committed to making the partnership work. Folks that can work through the challenges, the speed bumps, for successful outcomes. I'll just a couple of challenges. Working cross-boundary increases the workload of existing staff. We need to understand that we also need to get our accomplishments done on our own lands. Finding a workforce, may be challenging as well, especially if long travel is involved and that same type of work is offered closer to home. That's all I got. Chaz, Cody, if you have anything to add there.
Thanks, Jim. Alyssa, do you want to pull up the Building a Solid Foundation for Collaboration document? I want to just reference this. And while she's doing that, I also want to recognize, I'm noticing we have some other folks in the room. I see Mary Huffman's here, the Nature Conservancy. There are other groups that are out there that also have resources that they've developed in terms of collaboration and working together in partnerships. There was a package, there was a national collaboration cadre for the last about decade in the Forest Service. And they've recently, as they sort of sunsetted that effort, they've put out a package of resources and tools. And one of those is this Building a Solid Foundation for Collaboration that's specific to working with the Forest Service, with some of the kind of nuances of doing that. Mary, did you want to add, do you have anything that you want to add while we have you in the room here? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just realized we had you and that there's a lot of resources in your group.
Well, that's very kind, Chaz. I'll put a website in the chat, which is goes to the Conservation Gateway, and there are a number of resources there. And anybody can always contact me. I'll put my email in the chat. But with respect to TFPA, I think one of the things that we're interested in through the Indigenous Peoples Burning Network is really revitalization of fire culture.
Thanks. Alyssa, are we okay with that, pulling up that, or should I pull it up on my desktop by chance?
Chaz, why don't you pull it up?
A drawing error is occurring, of course, on my side. So let's see if we get that. Let me just try and see. Let's drop it into the chat, actually,
That works.
just to watch time. And then if, oh, here it goes. I just got it. Okay. I might not be as graceful as Alyssa, but let me just try this for a second here. You get to see my chrysalis because it always puts the wrong screen up. All right. I'll just, not for you to read in on this, but just to give you guys an idea of what the document looks like. It's based on the 4P foundation of purposes, people, process, and products. It aligns really nicely with the process of moving into a TFPA pipeline or process, and it offers some case studies, a definition of the people, purposes, process, and products. And it also offers you some resources here and some worksheets. So this might be something that when you go into your breakout groups today, might be something that you might want to reference in those breakout groups or as you're moving forward. Thinking about how to be involved, how to share your expectations, and think about your purpose. And then there's some additional worksheets in here in terms of skills and experience to help you match everybody up on process, on authorities, and how to move through. So I just wanted to show a lot of useful tools in this resource as well.
Chaz, it's, I don't know if it's for me, but it's just showing blank. So why don't we also plop that into the chat box so folks can pull it up in case there's some lag errors.
Well, that's too bad. I had a great time looking at that document. Tech gremlins. All right, so let's get that, apologies, let's get that in there into the chat. If we could pull up the project template next. I'm going to just spend about 5 minutes just providing an overview of some of those resources that we have out there and a couple of key takeaways to think about. And then as we go into the project breakouts, I'll be in there to help folks think through your project plans. That's part of my background besides organizational development is in project and program management. I'm a certified project manager. Looking forward to working with folks on that. Let me know when we have that up. And maybe I should start with some key takeaways first, if it's going to take us a moment to get that up on screen.
Go ahead with the takeaways.
Okay. The template that's there, there's a couple of things to think about, you know, just kind of major. We've talked about, John Crockett talked about capital the other day. We all know that money doesn't grow on trees. Neither party here may have economic capital. If that's the case, my best recommendation is don't play chess because you're not built for a two-party game. Define what capital you do bring in terms of human, social, and political capital, and use it to your advantage in building your proposal and looking at your proposal as the pitch to gain capital in those other ways. Another takeaway is don't play chess in a multiplayer world. Thinking about things like in Utah, there's the, I hope I say it right, there's a watershed conservation fund. In California, there's a new state fund that's providing resources to tribes. I don't know too much about it, but I know that there's been some information and funds related to biomass. Go beyond. We've got hedge funds now that are interested in this work. There are other NGOs that invest in these sorts of things. There are a lot of people with economic capital out there. How you get to them is knowing the game, finding the players, and having a pitch. Donors invest in the plans tied to the ideas. And so my best heartfelt recommendation to folks is don't be a great idea that looks like a bad investment by not having a clearly investable plan. So the idea behind this is having a project readiness, knowing about your project complexity, being able to understand and know what will guarantee failure in each phase, understanding how collaboration could raise the water in the glass like we talked about, that we're getting together not to talk about is the glass half empty or the glass half full, but how to raise the water. What does each party bring to the table? Who isn't at the table if you need to expand capital? And really one other really important thing to think about is ensuring that you've done what's often referred to as root cause analysis. It's just understanding what Making sure you've defined the challenge you're trying to solve down to its root level before you try to solution it. And a third takeaway here is that think about your project within a landscape scale. And this is where the long game and the big picture fits into the small picture of your project. If your project is connected to the larger landscape scale need, it's going to show more value for investment for folks if you're looking for outside support in most instances. Were we able to pull up the project management template?
Yeah, we have one of the sample plans. We pull that
Okay,
up.
great. So this is sort of a project management plan light. There's any number of ways that you could do this. I try to keep it really, I've been trying over the years to develop something as simple as I possibly can to help folks get started. It's got 3 elements to this project plan. The first page is a project overview, which also acts as a communication piece for you that you can turn into a briefing paper. Talks about who the sponsor is, the manager, the project team, talking about leaders' intent, why you're all, and this is from all party sides, the intent for the project, a brief overview, talking about what the tasks and deliverables are briefly, talking about the dependencies, what things are necessary for you to move through the project, talking about roles and responsibilities, who the sponsor is, who the team is, who your reviewers are, what your communication planning is. And then the type of simple next steps that you need to do, collecting the requirements, knowing what information you need to conduct the project, creating a collaboration space to work together, convening your team, and hosting your project initiation calls, some of the basics. If you go to the next page, I also included a simple graphic in there that you could kind of create a roadmap. So if you need a simple communication piece to tell folks what you're doing and how, you can create this kind of a flow chart. And that's all editable in the document I gave you. And then if you scroll down one more time, Alyssa, I've created a really simple project plan that talks about the title of the task, the time that it's going to be completed, the objectives for it, any design criteria that may be needed, like conforming, it needs to conform to law, regulation, and policy. Any of your milestones, those key gates. So a milestone is basically, if you think about it like a drawbridge in a road on your, or a stream with a bridge, let's say, a drawbridge on it. It's every time you finish an activity, you get to that drawbridge of approvals or reviews to accept that part of the work and move on to the next one. If you can go to the next page, please, Alyssa.
In a minute. Screen has decided to freeze. Hold on.
The next page is just a little bit about communications, who the subject matter experts you are or need, and thinking about how you're going to form your team. We're going to get that into the Google Docs if it's not in there for Ken, who I'm seeing you ask a question there. And we'll get that set up. You're going to get those into your hands as we move into some of the later project. And I think Alyssa's just dropped that Google link in there for you to take a look at. So again, I just wanted to do a brief kind of hitting some of the highlights, talking about some of the opportunities and the tools that we have to work with. And if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat box there. We will be diving in on these in the breakouts. I'll be spending more time with you there. And what I'd like to do is just go back to Jim and Cody to talk about the case studies and lessons learned that will help you with the project initiation strategies and building these preliminary project roadmaps. Before I jump, one last point is that the one graphic we had a little trouble getting in the room today, which is accountable to me, I'll get it to you over the next hour, is the project management life cycle. Projects have 5 phases to them that the Project Management Institute, which is a global kind of standard for project management, proposes. The first is initiating a project. The next is planning a project. Then there's executing your project, monitoring and controlling, and closing. That voice sounded better than mine. So one thing I want to emphasize also is the initiating and the planning of your project is critical, particularly in the initiating. There's a real tendency when there's a project to be done, say it's a bear grass restoration project using fire or something like that. I don't know if that's exactly the right match. I'm not experienced in that, so I apologize if that's not quite right. But you want to think about how to get folks together at that point in time to understand what are the pieces that you need. Is your business case there? Do you, are all the whys there for you to move through this project? and focusing there. We tend to go to the table and just start planning how we execute the deliverable, but not how we work together. In a multi-party context, that how we work together space is that much more important to be able to manage. That's where you get the trust and you get those really strong working workflows going and relationships. So Cody and Jim, can I go over to you?
Well, I would just say that I think Jim did a great job covering what we learned from the first set of TFPA workshops, and all of that information is still valid as far as developing a Travel Force Protection Act proposal. What we're focused on now is the new 638 contract or agreement mechanism that we have to help fund travel participation in those projects. So again, back to Jim's comments, reaching out to your neighboring forest is very important. Looking at management goals and objectives that you share, seeing where there's opportunities to work together, and then developing what that project may look like, and asking the forest, do you have funding available to do this work? Is it part of your 5-year program? Is it not? If it isn't, is there external funding sources you can use? And once you have agreement, then you can submit that project proposal to the regional office. And all of those questions, I'm sure, will come up when the region calls your respective forest to say, hey, we've got this application. Have you talked to these folks? Is this something that we're on board with, something we can fund, something we can do? So again, just to reinforce what Jim said, it's critically important that that communication happens early and often before the project proposal gets submitted.
And Jim and Cody, is there anything you want to speak to about sort of how process gets easier when you replicate it? So, as there's that first project and then there's the second project, and anything from lessons learned that you'd offer there for folks.
I'll just jump in. There was some, I mentioned before that there was a learning curve for me to enter into a contract with the Forest Service. One thing that, I needed to come up with is a bond. There's a bond requirement on some of those contracting items. So, that was something new, as a tribe looking for a bond to put up for a project or a contract. So there's considerations like that. Some things along the way that, you've never done or never had to do, or, find insurance as a tribal organization and supply that insurance information for your contractors or your staff. And just to reiterate again, NEPA compliance is always a consideration, when proposing new projects. So, just keeping that in mind, it may take some time, even through appeals process, to get where we're ready to put a project on the ground.
Thanks, Jim. So we're going to move into breakouts now. And you'll have a chance to, again, if you have questions about what's come up or things they're jumping out at you, load them up in the chat box here, but we're intending to move you out into the breakout groups to talk about them and then come back into plenary. So what I'm going to do is ask Stephanie to take a look at, give us some guidance on how we're going to move into these breakouts from our facilitators guide.
Yep. So I've got the slides, but it's pretty similar to what we did yesterday. Again, you can self-select to go into the rooms. If there's any issues with folks being paused, we're going to move you into rooms based on what you've put as in terms of the regional interest. We do have facilitators that are identified to go into each room. They're really there to help you move the conversation forward, get you used to using the tools and collaborating together, and getting you to the point where we can set you in a room with your partners and you all can just start hammering out some discussions and connect. So with that, Alyssa's gonna launch our breakout rooms. I do want to point out, Lynn, we're going to want you to go to the Southwest, Lynn or Allison, if you could go to the Southwest room first. We did get a question about the contracts and helping to manage those, and that would be great. And then Jim Durglow, if you can go to the Great Lakes to start off with, that would be great. I know a few of you had some questions in the chat that you were hoping to get some subject matter experts, so we're going to stick them in there. I will jump in and out. Chaz will jump in and out, as well as Ashley will be jumping in and out. Part of that will be to just make sure you're getting what you need, as well as identifying where we'll pull some of our great subject matter experts into the room. But again, if you're waiting for Cody or Allison or Lynn to come in, see if someone in your group has that answer question. Maybe you can work to narrow down what you need from the folks that have done this before. So when in doubt, put it in the chat, talk to the group you're in, see if they've got an answer, and then we can start identifying where you need to go in. So that breakout should jump in. As soon as you click that join button, you will go in. So go ahead and get in there. And I'm going to start, well, Alyssa's going to start moving you in. I've got Allison, we've got Alyssa. Next, I'm going to be asking Alexa to move you in. I won't, I promise. So it looks like a few of you are getting moved into groups. If you have any questions, just jump in there. Facilitators, if you can jump into the rooms that you were assigned, that would be great. And just as a quick reminder, those assignments are, sorry, I've got a very mean computer that's decided to crash on all my programs.
Our groups, are you looking for, Stephanie?
Yeah, I just want to make sure our facilitators know where to go.
Yep, it's Alaska, California. Let me grab that up. I've got it on the side here. We've got in room 1, Rebecca Adam, which is Alaska, California. Room 2, Rebecca Hill, Southwest. Room 3, Stephen Handler, Great Lakes, Midwest. Room 4, Melanie Knapp, Mountain. Room 5, Sandy Marin and Glenn Van Sant in Atlantic, Eastern. And room 6, Laura Alvarez and the Pacific Northwest. And we will be focusing, the one thing I realized, Stephanie, we need, if we have that graphic, our award-winning infographic to share with everybody with the hyperlinks in it that you were so kind to master for us.
Oh yes, that I have as soon as my computer stops crashing.
In
So
this
I can send that.
session, we will be focusing on the first 3 pieces, on identifying areas of tribal risk and resources, on the TFPA proposal, and on the 638 form. The project plan piece we are holding until folks that stay for the after session will get started on that today if they're ready to. If not, next week is when we're going to dive into that. But today we're starting on the first couple of pieces in the flow of the work, which is identifying the areas of interest, developing the TFPA proposal, developing the 638 form, and your project plan.
It does look like we're having some technical difficulties. So for those of you who do not see the self-sort button into a breakout room, I will be assigning you manually for my end. So if you haven't already, please modify your name on the participant list to indicate which region you would like to be sorted into, and I can go ahead and get that started for you. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties this morning.
And Stephanie and Alyssa, I've got the chat box for folks there.
Okay, great. And for some of you that might be struggling with renaming yourselves, I'm going to go in and rename you if you haven't already. So don't worry, we're getting you. Okay. Mary, you have Southwest. Okay, great. I wanted to double check because I know you work in a bunch of different areas. Ashley, do you want to just jump in the Southwest room?
I can't move myself.
Oh, okay. So we'll move you around.
And for folks that are still in the room while you're waiting to get moved, feel free to go ahead and grab that Google link and start digging around in those resources and tools there and opening them up for yourself on the side on your desktop so that you have them, because that'll take a couple of minutes. And if it takes an extra minute or two beyond that, you can just start taking a look at those tools with your time.
Yep. All right, so Alyssa's pretty much got it here, Chaz. I'm gonna just start jumping in the room and making sure folks have what they need. to get started.
Copy. I'll stay here for a minute. And I'm resharing the Google link again, so it's fresh at the top of folks' text in the chat.
All right, so Ashley, would you mind reminding me which room you'd like to go to today?
I think she's supposed
I
to be
think
Southwest.
Yeah, she said Southwest. I don't know if I'll be able to move myself around.
You can't.
Okay.
All right, and Buck Sanchez?
Buck, do you mind coming on, Mike?
You can also enter where you'd like to go in the chat box if that's easier for you, and I can get you going in the right direction.
And the same goes, I guess, for Gary Church, Jason Eakins, Mike Borowski, Dave Olson, or Dave's got the Pacifica set up there, so he's good. Ryan Sanchi, Paul Clark, Dave Anderson, John Galvin. Well, you've got one on there. Just add to your name or in the chat there what group you'd be going to. And then I believe, Lynn, we were going to send you or Allison to Southwest. So is Allison in Southwest, Alyssa?
Allison's in Southwest, and Stephanie asked if I could go to Great Lakes. And Allison still needs to know what that question was that came up.
Okay, I'll track on the question. And then if you can get Lynn into her room as a subject matter expert first, that'd be great.
I'm pushing the button now.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye, Lynn. All right, Jason, I'm getting you into the Southwest. And Gary, which room would you like to join today?
I'll jump over to one in a minute. I've got something that I'm trying to get out for Dave real quick.
Oh, all right. No worries. Thank you. And
Gary might be
how
a
are
good.
you?
Did you say Doreen? Southwest,
did.
please?
Southwest. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie, I'll start jumping around if you're back here. You're muted.
Yeah, go ahead. I just went into Southwest, so you might want to check in on Great Lakes. I know they had some RTL questions for Jim, see if they need other experts.
Okay, and there was, Lynn mentioned a question in the chat, but I'm not able to track on what question it was. It was something for she or Allison, or maybe Allison.
I already got it for them.
Okay, so I'm then jumping to look for Jim to go to Great Lakes.
Just make sure he's in Great Lakes and they're
He
getting
is in
their
Great Lakes. It
questions
looks like
answered.
right now he's green in there.
Okay, yeah, you might want to just check in there. I'm trying to find Frank Sherman. Did we lose him, Alyssa?
Let's see. I've not searched. For those of you who don't have a room yet and would like to be sorted into one, please either let me know in the chat box or unmute yourself, and we can get you sorted out.
Gerald, do you want to go? Am I remember correctly? You'd want to go in the Southwest? Oh, Rebecca, what do you need? You're on mute.
Yes, I'm unmuting. So I popped out. We were wondering why Frank is coming into the Southwest room. The question seemed to be specific to Alaska Native corporations.
Oh my God, it was Tongass. You're right. That was the wrong one. That was me. I was thinking Tonto and Tongass, so we might want to put him.
So
that was my bad.
Can address his question once she gets to Alaska.
Yep. No, that's fine. We can move him. He's in actually Alaska, so maybe Lynn can go in there.
Okay, I'll let her know to go there next, maybe, or.
Yep, that was my bad of just let them know that I was not even dyslexic. I was just confused.
No, we were wondering.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's fine.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for checking on me. Oops. All right. Are you able to get in there, Rebecca? Alyssa, can you put Rebecca in
I think she's there.
Okay, great. And Bug, where would you like to go? And David, I'm just gonna see, I think I know where they're from.
So David, I've sorted into Eastern, but he has yet to accept it.
Be right back.
Okay. We good? Okay, let's see. Cheryl, I believe, is going to want to go. Hi, Cheryl. We're just moving into breakout rooms. I'm assuming you'd want to go with the Pacific Northwest folks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually already in there on a different device, but I want to move to this one. So,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Cool. Thank you.
Can you do that, or do you want us to help you get it in there?
I got the join scene, so I should be good.
Excellent. Thanks, Cheryl. Well, I'm glad everybody in the Southwest is on it, since I can't seem to read Southwest versus Alaska.
Are these folks that we think are not at present?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know which forest Buck Sanchez is from.
I can look him up on our system and see if he's a Forest Service employee.
He is. I just don't know. He just said Forest Service. He didn't say which region.
I don't know if he'll be Buck in his. Can try. And then I'm noticing also one other thing, you know, some of the other time build-ins is those intros. We didn't have time built in for people to do the intros and kind of go round robin, which is pretty critically important. So we just may not get as far as we anticipated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that whole community building piece.
It's important though, so we'll get it.
We got next
All
week.
right. So Daryl would be going the mountain region. Alyssa,
Okay.
renamed him.
Thank you. And then as far as our 5-minute and 2-minute warnings, are we still thinking we're going to end the breakouts at night at 10:30 Pacific?
Give me 1 minute to look at that. Buck Sanchez is from the Southwest. He's the Southwestern Region Biomass Coordinator.
Okay, so that works. And
Can you look
David's
up anybody
Eastern.
else?
Or no, David is not Eastern. Hold on. Oh, he said he's interested in Eastern. Okay, he's from Inyo National Forest, but he was interested in Eastern. Okay.
Okay, and then let me just check time.
Stephanie, did you want me to assign Buck to Southeast?
Southwest, yeah.
Southwest?
I left a half hour for the adjourn, which was more time than we necessarily need, and I was going to leave a little time for plenary. So my suggestion is that we build the time back into the breakouts so that they get time in situ there. What do you think?
No, I think that's good. If you can go wandering through the breakouts and make sure everybody has what they need, at least one subject matter expert to ask questions and get some details. My computer froze, so I can't load anything into OneDrive, and I'm trying to do that for folks right now.
Okay, and then one quick question for Alyssa's, did the exit polls?
We have the exit
We
polls.
have the exit polls. We didn't have the earlier polls because I think I was Amelia Bedeliing it and I didn't say poll, so I figured that we would do it verbally. So,
okay, yeah, no, that's no problem. I mean, I love you guys were brilliant on the fly. All right, I'm out and into rooms.
And Stephanie, are we ending the breakouts at 10:45 then, or?
I think that's what she said, is we might give them a few minutes, but let me text her. I'm gonna need to log out, log back in because my computer's dying. It's like, I can't open anything.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that should be fine.
You might just want to check in with these guys when they come back, if they come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm out and I'll be back. I'll be right back. So you'll have to let me
All right.
out of the waiting room.
I'll be here. Hey Chaz, Stephanie logged out and will be logging back in, trying to fix some computer trouble. You're on mute.
Southwest looks good. I'm just checking in on the other groups right now to see. Lynn's in the Midwest, Great Lakes Midwest right now. They're rolling into their questions. The Southwest has just finished their introductions, and I'm about to go check on California
Awesome. Thank you.
and the rest.
Sounds good. And to confirm, are you trying to end the breakout rooms at 10:45 Pacific?
Oh, no, let's go longer. And so let me just look at that quick. We can do that in 15, add 15 minutes. So it'll be
So 15 minutes from 10:30 Pacific, which was our scheduled time, is 10:45.
10:45, yeah. And then 10:45 to 11, I'll do the close. And I'll let folks know that we're extending the time in each.
Okay, so we'll bring people out of their breakout rooms at 10:45 Pacific.
Right, return to plenary at 10:45 and warning, 5-minute warning at 10:40.
Yep, great, thank you. Is your computer working a little bit better, Stephanie?
I'm in the files now, so that's good. Hopefully nothing horrible happened while I was gone.
I was trying to come up with some snarky answer, but it didn't work. Everything's great.
Excellent. Here we go. And we're going to load these documents in. Thanks for taking care of all the chat questions. That was super helpful. David, Buck, do we have you back on the line?
Yeah, and I confirmed with Chaz that we're going until 10:45, so I'll send the 5-minute at 10:40. You're muted.
Documents are loaded.
Great, thanks to the Google.
Yep.
And I CC'd you, I sent Rebecca the SharePoint link, so hopefully, I haven't heard back from her, so hopefully she got what
We'll
she
see.
needed.
Yeah, they might. Let's hope. Okay. When I logged out, I lost all the chat. So I don't think I had anything special directed to me. So I think we're okay. All right, I'm gonna go just jump in and give people the links.
Okay, I will be here. Hi, Daryl. Do you need to get back into a breakout room?
No, I'm actually gonna leave the meeting until later because the 6:38 stuff just is not anything that I do. So when would be a good time to come back, or should I just stay in the main room?
You can go ahead and stay in the main room if you like.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Changed.
Hi, Daryl. Is there anything I can help you out with?
Yeah, that the other, I guess, the Rocky Mountain, where Susan Johnson is at. Is she in
All
there?
right. You want me to send you to Rocky Mountain area?
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Don. We have everybody's out in their regional breakout groups right now. Is there a region that you would like to be sorted into to join the breakout room conversation?
I'm in Alaska.
You are in Alaska. All right, so we have an Alaska, California group, so I'll go ahead and sort you into that. Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. Thank you.
All right, of course. 1 minute.
Hey, Alyssa, as soon as, can you send an email to Alicia and just let her know we know she's tapped, but we desperately need her in Alaska. She's the only one that seems to understand how to get this working for them.
Sure.
And we've got Brad coming in. You might want to touch base with him. I'm going to go back in and get folks
All right.
information.
Sounds good. You said Alicia, correct?
Alicia.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, Brad. Everybody's in regional breakout groups right now. Do you have a region that you'd like to join? Hi there. I see we have a 828 number that just joined. You might have to press *6 to unmute yourself on the phone.
Hi, this is David Anderson. I'm with the EBCI. I'm actually on the call on my computer, but my mic isn't working, so I had to call in.
Okay. Thanks, David. What breakout room were you coming from?
The Northeast, Southeast.
All right, I will go ahead and route your phone number to that breakout room.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hey, Alyssa, you there?
I'm here. How's it going,
Dave
Tess?
Anderson just had to call in on his phone, so I don't know if that auto connects or if we need to do anything to connect his audio to make things better.
He called in a couple minutes ago and I sent him to northeast southeast for his request. So he should be all set.
Okay. We're a little light on the, I wish we had Alicia or Reed back in.
I just sent Alicia an email saying that she's needed, but
She's
I
not
know
coming
she,
till the top of the hour. She won't be until 11. It's
I
just,
know she's busy, but she knows, she's aware.
okay, great.
Mhm.
And then, we'll try and do, if there's anyone in particular that we need to do one-to-one touch points with, we can also check in on that along the way.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I'm just gonna hang out here and let me know if there's anything that you need
Okay.
that I can help with.
And these folks are just, we think they're not at their desk.
Yeah, so Anne came out of the Southwest group. She said it didn't really apply much to her work that she's doing directly. So she'll touch back in at 10:45 and then Buck, we haven't had contact with.
Okay, I'm gonna do a quick bio break and I'll be back.
Great. Hi there, Jennifer.
Hey there. Sorry I'm joining late today.
No problem at all. So folks are meeting in their regional breakout groups right now. Do you have a region that you'd like to join?
Yeah, I would, I'm in Northern California.
Okay, great. So we have Alaska / California as a group and then the Pacific Northwest. Is there one that you'd prefer over the other?
Well, let's see who's in each of those. Yeah, I guess the Alaska, California is good.
All right, great. I'll go ahead and route you that way.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Jazz.
Glenn was in that room, but I don't know if anyone knows or if you know or who I go to, or maybe it's Alicia. I hadn't thought about this, but somebody was just bringing up the fact that there are tribes that, like in South Carolina or places on the eastern seaboard, southeastern seaboard, where tribes are relocated to places like Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
But does that preclude them in the adjacency definition from putting a 638 project on their traditional lands
Boy.
back east?
That might be an Alicia question.
Okay. I'm going to text her right now.
Interesting question, though.
And I'm checking with her on that, and I'm gonna go check on, I think the groups went to different places, which is, we just knew that was gonna happen naturally. But I think that they just ended up going through a little bit of questions from yesterday and some of the opportunities to ID, et cetera. So I think we got what we wanted out of it, and we'll find out more when they come back in. I'm gonna just check my agenda here. Make sure I'm ready. And check if they've been asked to brief.
All right, I have Shirley Picosa in the waiting room that I'm going to let in and just let her know that folks will be coming back from breakouts in about a minute.
Was she here yesterday or is she new?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
not
she
sure.
gets in the room.
I don't
Okay.
think she's new. I'll admit her.
Thanks. We're just waiting for folks to come back into the room. Stephanie, I have one question for Alicia that I haven't gotten an answer back on yet that might be good to bring in the room, which was whether or not tribes that were moved who have traditional cultural properties and risks in their original traditional lands, if that's a gap in 638 authority right now, or if they qualify. Oh, I'm getting an answer. Stand by.
Excellent.
Sometimes technology works the right way.
All right, so Alicia's jumping in. Alicia's just texting from us, right? Because I know we wanted to get Alicia to work with the Alaska
She's in at
folks as well.
11 and back at 11.
Okay. So for those of you from Alaska who had some very focused questions with Alicia, I would recommend you staying over for the working group, or maybe just a few of you staying over for the optional working group at 11, because she will be back and we can get you in a room focused with Alicia. So we'll just do an extra special room for that. Alyssa, why don't you set up the breakout room so we can separate California and Alaska, and we can we can put folks in with Alicia so they can pepper her with their questions. And then we had a lot of folks asking the question, and I'm going to say this because I'm not a Forest Service representative, and it's on the QT. Some of the Forest Service folks had like a 10 demonstration cap. That's a regulatory component based on the development of the OMB tool, the 638 tool that you have in your packet. That is literally on the cusp of being expanded beyond 10. So don't let that 10 stop you in terms of developing a TFPA proposal, thinking through what the scope of the project is, having those conversations. One, because even if that 638 even if you decide, 638 isn't the right tool for us, a lot of the process that you need to go through, that planning process that Chaz was talking about, can be applied to various other programs. And two, that cap is likely going to get lifted. The intent is to look at tribal partnerships and figure out the best tools for them. And a lot of what we're asking some of you that haven't put a TFPA together yet is those steps in collaborative discussions that are going to fall into multiple different tools. And it's just a matter of figuring out which one works best for you.
I know we're bringing several people back into the room. So if folks are just joining right now, we're just closing out on a little question that came out of one of those other rooms. Another thing I'd offer as a counterpoint also to what Stephanie is saying is, one of my favorites from my father is, just because you can doesn't mean you should right away. And so there's this aspect of learning and knowledge transfer. And so if you look at the example of forest plan revisions in the Forest Service, we started with this idea of early adopters and learning from them and moving on to the next plans. Somehow in our eagerness to get stuff done, we ended up launching 40 more plans, which had a 4-year timeline, which after 8 years, only one the size of a postage stamp had been finished with a decision in terms of comparison in size to other forests. So there's a certain amount of value in terms of sort of how you roll things out and your ability to manage it. So that's one of those things from process and project management that we'll be thinking about. We're just getting the rest of the folks in the room right now. So Alyssa, how are we doing on that? How many do we have in the room? Do we have everybody back?
We have everybody back, Chaz.
Super. So just to close on that point, some of those things we'll be thinking about as we move through these sessions is, what sort of knowledge and learning do we need to support each other, to help each other get more projects in that project stream? So what I want to do right now is, for the next 10 minutes or so before we close out, was just, I'd like each group, the facilitator, to give one key takeaway from your group in 3 sentences or less. And I'd like to start with Alaska and California.
All right, hi everyone. So in our breakout group, we discussed both of the maps for Alaska and California. Specifically, it was more Northern California, a few Southern California areas. One of the key themes of surrounding our discussion was how do we assess the applicability of various authorities, as well as what other resources can we bring to the table to make bigger and more impactful projects.
Thanks. And I'm actually going to catch myself before Stephanie sends me the IM that says I'm going rogue right now, because I actually am. I'm just checking back on my agenda here and realizing how we're staged right now. This is that space of grace moment that I'm modeling. We're going to go through actually what we're going to do next week right now, because your groups are going to be reforming. So anyone who's staying, we're going to carry what came out of these into next week's session. We've been trying to design these so that we're not taking up your whole day and half your life. So that's the kind of dynamic balance we're trying to make here. So what I'm actually going to do is pivot us to talk about the overview of week 2 and our adjournment for today. So next week's session has homework in between, essentially, and a production-filled week to build TFPA and 638 and project proposal matches for drafts for groups, kind of see how far we can get that moving is the intention. For those still learning and in matchmaking phases, your role next week will be to be part of active learning and contribute to those matches and process. And the concept is for those learners or kind of startups to be in a more ready state by participating in these sessions, with the hopes that by the end of the week, you can stream into our project stream soon after. And again, the big ticket goal of these sessions is to get projects in the project stream and begin building a TFPA 638 network. It's at least one thing that's been missing in a decade plus, at least within this context, the decade plus of TFPA, and I'd offer it's a key influencing factor on maybe on the limited number of projects executed. Needing that bench strength, having a community of practice, having a people helping people, I like to say my PHP of people helping people, that these things are within your sphere of influence and control right now. So thinking about what those are and how you can work them to your advantage. Another one that's within your sphere of control and influence is high quality projects that are implemented at a scale that results in a significant shift to tribal resources. There's power in this group working together to identify both across the country and in different parts of the bioregion that we talked about, how to think big and think small at the same time. And also how to think about getting projects completed at the same time we think about programs and sort of making that kind of get the wind beneath the wings there. So I appreciate your thinking on that between now and the next session, and we're going to dive more into it. So for those not planning to stay, I appreciate your kindness bearing with me one more time again today for just a few housekeeping items. So first and foremost, thank you all again for what you're bringing today, and keep coming back. We're stronger together. We can do this. Second, we're going to do a couple of exit polling questions that are really important to help us refine next week's design and make sure we're meeting your needs to explore the pipeline. So I'm going to ask Alyssa if you can go ahead and pull those polls up for me. And these are going to actually, we did anonymous surveys in the past, and so we're actually going to be attributing your name to this to help us see physically where you and your match groups are at to help us work on this next week. So will you attend next week's session? Yes, no, maybe. Are you clear on what templates you've been asked to complete for next week and who to reach out to for help? On that, we'll be showing a slide again after this of those points of contact. And Stephanie, if you can give me a visual thumbs up if that's in the Google Drive also for them. Yep, okay, great. And then do you have select all that apply a partner, or are you matched? Do you have a list of tribal risk and areas, a start to a tribal risk and areas of restoration list started? Do you have a draft TFPA, a draft 638, or a draft project proposal? And then do you need any, where do you need technical support right now from where you're sitting right now of what you really think you could use next week to help keep you moving? So that's a matched partner, a list of tribal areas of risk and restoration, the draft TFPA, draft 638, project proposal, or other. And on other, again, are we putting that response in the chat box? Stephanie?
The folks can put all of these items, the others should go in the chat box. So if there's anything other, just click on that so we know to find your answer in the chat box. And when Chaz says that these are not anonymous, it just means that the design team sees it. So, feel free. So why don't folks let us know if you're going to be here next week's session. And then if you're not and you need some follow-up information, I'm sharing in a minute, but it's also in the OneDrive, the contact information for folks that can help you beyond this week, right? We wanted to give you an entree of what TFPA is and some of the best practices and considerations. I'm hoping some of you had a chance to talk to your tribal representatives in the room from Forest Service on how to be better tribal partners. I saw a lot of that from Forest Service staff when we started. Best thing to do is have a conversation and say, what do you need as a partner? And that goes both ways, right? And I think Jim touched on this and Cody definitely touched on it as well. So, in terms of partnerships, having these conversations and identifying priorities is going to be key. But if you aren't going to be able to join us next week and you're going to be answering, that first question as no, this doesn't mean that we're throwing you out and we're not going to be able to respond to you. We want to help you get through that process. You're welcome to join next week if you aren't as far along on all of these other items. If you're not clear on the templates, that's part of what we want to do. So I think the polls are launched. If folks can start clicking in their answers there, just go through, there's 4 questions, and just let us know what best represents for you.
And for Wes and for Lisa, so if you do actually have a TFPA proposal in hand, select the first box, select that you're in the draft, but note in the chat box that you actually have one and what the name of it is, please. And then I had one more question from, I think, Wes, which was no box that's relevant, then just fill in the chat box the specifics of what your reply would be.
I think if they don't pick on every single one of them something, the submit button won't light up. And so they have to click on something. And I think that middle question didn't have none of the above if you're not working on anything. So
Okay, so let's do this. If you're none of the above, go ahead and fill that in the chat. And if you're getting grayed out, go ahead and add the ones you were not able to select in the chat box.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Good to know, Rowena.
Yeah, thanks. Takes a village and a team. All right, so how are we doing on those?
We're still waiting yet. I think some folks are struggling with the don't have a matched partner.
Okay.
So in order to just clean those out, this also gives you a baseline of the best way to do these partnerships is to have a partner. You know, if you're the Forest Service and you're looking to do these projects, you need to find tribes that are interested in doing it. TFPA puts tribes in the driver's seat. The tribes develop the TFPA proposal, and we encourage that that's done in partnership. But if the tribes are if they're not there yet, it's not something they have capacity for, it's not something they're interested in right now, that's fine. You know, the best to do is just share what options there are, that it's an opportunity, and that the forest is open, willing, and interested in doing it, and go from there. Please feel free to share these resources and other items. And we have a couple folks I know, for the few of you that have a number of TFPA proposals already signed and ready, I would say put a draft TFPA proposal for number 3 and just say, yeah, we got them, because we know that you all are working on your 638s, or you're working on some of the other items. So just pick the one that closest applies, or, you know, the thing that you identify as the next step. For some of you, it might be finding those matched partners. And we identified a few matched partners based on who registered. And we really just want to see who we're going to have next week so we can get you the resources you need.
And then Alyssa, if you're just checking on getting Lynn Schulte back into the room, and for everyone, there was a question there about using the registration link. And so Stephanie, it's the same link, or are they getting a new email next week for the day?
Same link, same bat channel.
Don't forget to scroll down, get to your link.
Yeah, your link, there's 2 links. There's one that will open up a calendar invite, and that has it in, and it built it into your calendar. But if that isn't working for you, you scroll a little further, and there's one that says join here, or with this join, and you can just click on that one. So either one of those will work for you.
So with that, I want to say thank you again to everyone. If there's anyone in the room from the ITC or Forest Service side that wants to add anything before we do a transition, I'll go over to them. We'll take a 5-minute bio break and come back at 11:05 Pacific to get started in the next round of breakout rooms for those that are staying to dig in a little deeper.
This is Cody. I would just thank everybody again for their participation in these first 2 days of the workshop. Look forward to meeting with those that will be here next week. And if you have questions in between, please reach out. We'll try to answer them to the best of our ability, and hopefully have projects as well developed or identified as possible going into next week.
And on the Forest Service, Stephanie and myself are also kind of your bridgers or connectors. So, you know, if you don't see a name on the point of contact list that you need, reach out to one of us and we'll help get you to those people. You want to broadcast? Can we broadcast the results yet? Or should we hold off still?
Let's do a 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, get your answers in, 2, 1. And then let's share those, Alyssa.
All right. Well, our percentage is still going up.
Okay, well, let's
Try it
hold
again.
on.
5,
I just wanted to see
4,
if we can.
3, 2, 84%. Great. Closing polling. Share results.
Great.
All right. Looks like a lot of folks are coming back.
Still need some
We've got
more
some
insight on
folks.
which templates, so that's fine. We can go through them.
Yeah, and anyone who said no, please reach out to us. Grab that Google link document, scroll through the message chat. We can put that right back in there again if you can, Alyssa. And then we'll be, and in particular, if you need us to reach out, you can also use the chat box to ask for that help without having to.
And we will be sending a follow-up email either probably tomorrow morning that has those templates, what we recommend you put together in preparation for next week and have. And I encourage you to reach out to your partners and folks within your area. Some of you, we identified it. Some folks joined that we didn't see the match, and we apologize. But if you saw some folks in your regional room that you want to partner with or heard, reach out to them. If you would like their contact information, reach out to Alyssa and myself, and we'll help connect you with people you started meeting today that you'd like to continue those discussions with if this was the first time you sat down and talked about these projects together.
Great. All right, so folks, we stole a minute. 4 minutes, we'll be back at 11:05. Thanks. And if we won't see you, have a really happy and safe weekend, and we'll see you next week. I look forward to it. And thanks again for today.
Here's your enjoyment. I put my necklace on over my headset. So in case anybody just wants to be amused on your break.
Hey folks, if you want to just come back on camera as you come into the room so we know you're back, get a sense that we're ready to go. Hey, ABS.
You are very popular, Alicia.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Alicia, is your audio working or do we need to connect a phone line?
You're on mute right now on that line.
Got it.
Can you thumbs up, thumbs down if you can hear us, Alicia? Okay. All right, folks, we're going to get started into the next section. In this optional working section, how many do we have in the room right now, Alyssa?
In total, we have 69.
Great. So what we're going to do is organize and break out, work in our breakouts, and come back to plenary and check out. I think we should be able to do that with the size of folks that we have in the room. This is going to be a, Stephanie, you want to go over our process for this one? Make sure in our late hours last night that we're still going with Choose Your Own Adventure Breakout Group by TFPA 638 project proposal, or as I'm calling match.how. Or are we staying in our groups and discussing them again? What's our breakout setup?
We're going to stick with the regional groups. If folks want to move around to different groups, that's fine. But instead of focusing on interests, we really want you to start thinking through specific projects you have lined up and thinking through how to start filling out that TFPA worksheet. Or if you've already filled it out, thinking through the other discussion items you need to bring in.
One thing I want to add, sort of a thinking on this is, can we pull up that graphic, the infographic quick?
Which one is that? The 3-word one? I have them both. It's just want to make sure I give you the right one.
Yes, the one with the our arrow to our process one with the hyperlinks in it.
There you
Just
go.
want to make a point for folks. You know, this is the workflow essentially. It goes from identifying the resources at risk in the restoration area into building a TFPA proposal, into the 638 agreement, and into the project plan. And there's sort of a concept that starts up over on the left there. You know, an idea comes from those ideas and risk. Now, I heard somebody mention earlier, sometimes I say that after being to many countries in the world, that after 20 years in the Forest Service, that it's still the most foreign country I've ever been to because of the numbers of languages and different groups and sections of the organization and the bureaucracies that naturally come with large organizations. So if things like the if you're at a situation where you know the risks, it may be that you want to reverse engineer this. So think about where you're at and what your group's capacity is. If it's easier for you to think about your, you know your risks, and you could build a project plan and then work it backwards through 638 and TFPA, if that's sort of feels overwhelming right now, we're still going to get everybody back into this process flow. But think about in your group, if there's something that's really holding you back, where do you feel like you can make traction right now? Is it talking more about what the project might look like in the context of what the legal framework is? But if you can, we're trying to walk people through the tribal resources at risk and the restoration area identification. Take a look at the TFPA template and see what filling that out might look like and what questions come up. Then take a look at the 638 template and see what questions might come up as you connect those together to the project plan. Anything to add on? And these each, when you get this resource out, the Google Drive's in there, as well as a hyperlink in that graphic too, which we'll work on a little bit for next week, that takes you to those guides that are also in the Google Drive. Anything you want to add there, Stephanie?
Just that we get there's some of you that are far more advanced than others and where you are. And if you want to take the lead of sharing where you are and kind of your next steps, that helps folks that might be kind of getting up to speed. So I would just encourage those of you that you aren't identified by the facilitation team as subject matter experts. You are in the room, and so feel free to say, well, this is what we're doing and what we're trying to figure out, and get a dialogue going. Because sometimes even just being in that realm will help others kind of learn what the process looks like and connect it to their own experiences. So I just want to encourage all of you experienced folks out there that might already have a couple TFPA proposals drafted or approved. Go ahead and start thinking through where you are in that phase as well.
And so they're also just talking about and thinking about your ability to what help you need to help you where you're at next week, because we've got a big group of people that are at different places, and so we're trying to figure out how to give the best customer service and technical support to everybody where they're at. So those that are in the advanced group also, as we end this week, please use the chat box and reach out to us so that if there's any particular one-to-one assistance that we can get to help you kind of keep moving faster, that's another goal here. And we're open, as I said earlier, to the feedback from all of you to try and figure out what's going to work best. to help keep everybody moving down the stream at the same time and build that capacity. So with that, any questions on that? I think I saw a chat pop up to me quickly if there was a question about, let's see. Ken, do you want to bring your question in the room and tell me a little bit more? Are you with us?
Yeah. Sorry, I have bad bandwidth here and have a small laptop screen. I had brought up our fire reintroduction idea in South Warner Wilderness and you know, working with local tribes, multiple tribes for TEK and just partnerships in general. And so I wasn't sure if that's what you were referring to or another question I had, but you know, this is a brand new idea. It hasn't had any momentum really. But I am kind of considering utilizing your exercise to, you know, feel out the Tribal Forest Protection Act as a venue or a vehicle to accomplish that idea or start planning for it. But I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
That's great. And what I'd recommend that we do, Ken, is have you, here's a good example of folks that are starting to stream. So Ken, if you look at that the collaboration practices with the worksheets in it that was in the handouts, and also that project template light. If you take a look at that and you want to reach out to me in between, that's the kind of example of give me a shout and I can try and figure out what we can do to try and get you to stream a little more or assess your situation of what your next step might be. All right. So
yeah, I appreciate those templates.
That's why we're here. Cool.
That's also why there's a space between today and next week when we get a little bit more advanced. We want to give you all time to do that, and reach out and, you know, call an audible or connect with your partners.
Super. All right, well, let's get started then. We're going to move back into our groups. Alyssa or Stephanie, do we need to give any oversight on process? Or are they going to get their invites to join?
They're getting their invites to join. I think continue the discussions and start thinking through where you are and kind of this, are you in the interest in identifying? Are you in the TFPA? Start working individually on your own, what you need to get to. I've got a partner matched. I've got some ideas. I've got a TFPA proposal. Let's start thinking through the rest of the project plan in that 638. So just do some self-assessment and figure out how to get where you need to be.
And that's part of that space of grace of being kind with ourselves about this also is, I don't know if anybody's ever played Candyland or Chutes and Ladders, but there's going to be a little bit up and down on this thing where you're going to kind of go up 3 levels and you might kind of move back and pick up a gumdrop here or there along the way. So that's another thing is just understanding the project pathway moving forward, how to kind of help that move in a more meandering and organized way, rather than that new stream that just goes really straight and fast.
Recognizing there were some very specific questions that came out of our Alaska and California group, and we have Alicia now. We have separated Alaska and California, and Alicia is going to be going over to the Alaska group to answer some of those questions right away, as promised.
And then I think we'll probably end up floating Alicia around the others as we move through.
Stephanie, you're on mute.
Are you on mute on purpose? Okay.
No, I was not on mute on purpose. So Alyssa's moving folks in now. So Tim, we're going to move you into California unless you had a quick question.
Oh, just I got pointed towards Alaska, and I wasn't sure if Alaska and California are still, there was discussion about splitting them.
Yeah, we split them. I can go ahead and move people manually too.
Okay, California.
And then any idea where we need Lynn the most right now?
Lynn, let's put her in Mountain.
Allison.
Let's put Lynn in Mountain. Allison in the Pacific Northwest, or actually in Great Lakes. Sorry, Allison in Great Lakes.
What about Eric Whiteman? We have him as Alaska/California.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go in there and let those folks know that they can jump into the California specific. I'll be right back.
Thank
Or do you want me to look anybody up on our directory to make sure you know where they're from?
Shirley, do you need help joining a breakout room? It looks like you're on mute if you're speaking. If it would be helpful to type in the location you'd like to go into the chat box. Nope.
Do we want to just drop Buck off if he's not in the room after this much time?
I'll leave that up to you, Chaz.
If it's not causing confusion for you, let's just leave it in case he comes back. Marina, are you with us and can we help in any way?
Oh, I just got back on. I had to run an errand. So I just got
Awesome.
back on. So they're in groups now?
Yeah, and so you are in which?
The California.
Great. So we separated California and Alaska, so you're going to get sent over there by Alyssa now.
All right, I'll go over there and join it.
Great.
And Chaz, where did we want to send Allison?
Allison, did you hear what she said? Where did you send Lynn?
Lynn, I think, is in Mountain.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, Lynn is in Mountain. And it looks like that's where Allison was invited to join. So
Okay.
Allison, do you need help joining that room?
I'm going to start running around and check in.
All right. Sounds good, Chaz. And Allison, if you are around, we cannot hear you. So just let me know if you can assist in any way. Hey there, Lynn.
Hi, I was just trying to decide where to jump because Allison and I were both in the same little mountain states one, and I think I might jump to California unless there's a need for me somewhere else.
If there is, I have not been made aware of it, so I think California sounds great.
Okay, I'm off.
All right.
Hey,
Hey, Ashley.
do you know if we still have Allison Lehman anywhere?
We do. I think she's in Mountain.
Yeah, either her or Alicia could probably help too. We've got a question in our group about, what do you consider when you're choosing your contracting or agreement mechanism? So we're in the Southwest group.
Southwest?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I can see if I can get Allison to jump on over to you guys.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Alyssa, Stephanie asked me about time. We're going to do 10:45. If we don't have, I'm going to check in on the breakout rooms and decide if we should do a 20-minute plenary or leave them with more time and do a 15-minute. So I'll be back to let you know. And Jamie, did you just join us? Jamie, are you with us if you're on mute?
Hi there, Buck.
This is Alicia. I'm trying to get back to the main room to go to California.
You have made it. I will route you right over there. Thanks, Alicia.
I made it. Thank you. All right, except I have no video.
Oh, there you are. All right, I'll route you over to California right now. Oh, and it looks like you're muted.
Okay, am I here?
There you go.
All right. Hello, Shirley. Hello, Beck. Hey, Lisa. What's up?
All right. You're still in the main room, actually. So you need to.
Oh, I need to
I routed you
somewhere
over. You
else.
should have had a little thing pop up.
I did, and I hit it. Breakout rooms. Oh, wait a minute. Join a breakout room. I've been assigned to California. Is that not where I am? Nope, I didn't.
No, you're still in the main room.
I see. I'm moving. I'm moving.
All right. There you go.
All right. Thanks.
Hey, Shirley, I just got your message in the chat. So folks are broken out into breakout rooms based on their region. So if you want to tell me which region you'd like to join, I can go ahead and route you there manually, if that would be helpful. All right. Florida National Forest. So does the Southwest sound good to you?
Yes.
All right. And is that, so that's Buck and Shirley, I'll send over to Southwest?
I'm not sure about Shirley, but
Okay, sounds good. She's in the chat, so I'll go ahead and route you guys over. Thanks a lot for your help here.
thanks.
Hey, Lynn. Oh, you're on mute again.
I'm leaping to Great Lakes. I feel like I'm in that quantum leap program, right?
That sounds like fun to me. If only travel was this easy.
There, yeah, I know. Okay. Away I go.
All right, sounds good. Hi, Kelsey. Looks like you're on mute right now. Is there anything I can help you out with?
Sorry about that.
You're
No,
right.
we just finished up in our breakout room. So just wondering, do we come back here for any kind of wrap up, or is that kind of the end of the day?
Sure. Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think we wanted folks to try to keep going until maybe 5 till. So I was going to send out a little message to folks. So if you just want to stick around, go stretch, and then come back here in about 7 minutes, we'll start to wrap up around then.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Chaz.
I got caught in a room and realized I thought I put a chat someplace, but maybe it went to the
No
wrong
worries.
spot.
So I was just talking with Lucero about this. So it looks like the Eastern group is wrapped up.
Okay.
And so I was going to send out right now a 5-minute.
Yeah, let's get that out there because I thought we were gonna, my bad. I sent a message out somewhere that went to the vapor, but I was expecting we were gonna come back at 11:45. So let's get them back in.
No problem.
Okay.
Do you want me to still give them a 5-minute warning, or do you want me to wrap it up?
Let's give them a 2-minute warning and I'll just let them know that we're slow. We had a little glitch. I let Alaska know I'm heading off to California.
Jazz, are we going to do a group debrief at the end of the breakouts, or our mountain breakout group came to the main session?
Right. So what happened was we had a little glitch. I got caught in another room and the message went sideways. So we should have been back for 15 minutes. We're going to have less time. So we're going to do a closeout and just kind of frame us up for next week when we start getting in there and just rolling up the sleeves and going back in. So we'll build that time in there.
Perfect.
Thanks. I'll be back. Or actually, I'm just going to stay here because everyone's going to get transported like those people in whatever the tube was in that show back then. You didn't know it, you get Star Trek.
Only it were possible in real life. Still waiting.
Someday, maybe, while I'm still alive. So everybody's just coming back into the room.
Hello, everyone.
I was just explaining our awkward return to the room.
Did we have an awkward return?
Well, you know, the messaging about the 15-minute, I think I sent it to you on a text instead of through an IM, and maybe we missed it. So we're all coming together right now, and we're going to just adapt a little bit.
Sorry about that.
I
were
own that one.
Hey,
Closing out.
Chaz, can I answer, while we're waiting for everybody to come back, can I answer a quick question that Lisa had?
Absolutely,
our room?
please.
So Lisa was asking about what happens to the money if we enter into a 638 agreement and something happens and it doesn't get done. So it's just like any other contract or agreement, is the money comes back to the Forest Service. If it's in the same fiscal year, it comes back to the forest. If it crosses fiscal year, it goes back to the Forest Service to be reallocated.
Okay, great. So with the 6 minutes that we have left today, you all got the framing of what's going to happen for next week. So I want to make sure there were some questions about, Stephen, did we get the Google chat back in, or can we repaste one more time a list of the Google chat into the chat right now so that folks can see where to get the tools? And can we pull up that contact, or is the contact list now in the Google Drive of who to reach out to?
Yes, all of those, they're in the tech PowerPoint that we shared yesterday and earlier today. So I'll plop that up right now, but this is also shared as a slide in as a PDF. So you just have to scroll down to that slide. So let me put it up there right now for folks.
I think folks have been in the Google Drive, but I was just wondering if there's specifically a 638 example in the drive. I know there's a TFPA proposal example.
We actually, Kalispell Tribe actually just shared that everybody can use. So they're modeling the networking and collaborative work together. They pop that in. If you look in resources, there's case studies. For those of you that have done projects, we'll be reaching out to some of our folks that have done them before and encourage them to share those as well. So we're going to try and get some of those samples for folks. But there is one in there, thanks to Kalispell.
Kalispell.
Kalispell, yes.
All right, so in terms of closing out for today, what I'd like to do is, we got a limited amount of time, but I'd like to open the mic a bit here before we have Cody and other folks that we have in there, just to let folks know that close us out for today. Process, we're learning as we go. We're riding the bike as we build it here. We're a little bit of a duct tape army right now in terms of our capacity. So getting started on the first time, there's in terms of resources, we're kind of like a TFPA project where we're doing what we can with what we got right now and trying to make friends and move in different places. So thoughts from folks on next week, as we described it earlier, the intent is to keep moving folks forward in the process where they're at and try and provide the best direct assistance we can with the limited number of subject matter experts that we have and the large group we have, and trying to build capacity. So any additional suggestions from folks on how we might provide an improved process next week, or any of your needs, if you want to light up the chat box with that, or if anybody wants to bring their voice into the room, please go ahead and do so right now. Raise your hand and then we'll grab you in the room, or go ahead.
This is Lisa, and I'll just ask my question I put in chat. So we had a couple people from our forest who wanted to get on, but just with the confusion of registering, thought had registered, but hadn't really registered. Is there a way to get a person or two to be able to come in, specifically if we're going to be working on a 638 proposal together in our small group?
Great question.
That's a great question, Lisa. I would recommend have them register. Alyssa and I are in control. As you can tell, we had a big group. We were trying to keep it focused. So when the question asks, are you working with a tribal partner, or you can write it in, say we're with Chippewa and Leech Lake, and we'll let them in because we'll know that they're an important partner. And I encourage everybody to do that. For some of you Forest Service folks, they're trying to get your tribal partners in the room and you've got some ideas for projects, have them reach out and put that in, that you're working with specific tribe that registered. And then we know to bring them in for next week as partners. This week was really, we had a lot of folks that wanted information. So we opened it up, but now we can focus in on letting those folks in.
Great. Keith,
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I did. It was mentioned briefly yesterday, the idea of lessons learned for the couple of 638s that were done last year. Thanks to Kalispell for, having theirs posted on the Google Docs. But if there are any lessons learned, any pitfalls that were unforeseen but are seen now, it would be nice to know what to look out for, I guess.
Stephanie, would some of that be in the 638? So we did that case study presentation in the 638 stand table. That might be an immediate resources. Any other ideas right now?
I think Cody is in the midst of one already, and he's already prepped to share some of that next week. And what we can do is we can reach out to Tulalip Tribe and Daniel, who presented at the 638 workshop, and see if they can come to answer some questions. And I know, Keith, you were in that webinar, but it may be worth dusting out that webinar and just going to that section. Both Tulalip and Daniel, who work with them, have expressed an interest in answering questions. So it's just a matter of either getting their availability or reaching out and building them into the network that way as well.
Great, thanks. And then one thing I wanted to close us out on was just to appreciate and also reflecting group on some of the conversations that happened in the Great Lakes that tied to, looking at some of the people in the room here, Alicia, that conversation Reed Robinson, the new director of OTR, about tribes have a high context in the approach to the projects, and how the difference of that to the low context of what the drivers and the viewpoints are of the Forest Service. And then Mary had spoken a little bit to the concept of how, as we expand this to other groups and partners could support, both from the standpoint of some third-party kind of neutrality here as we work on some sort of deep-seated and long-standing relationships that might be at different states of health between tribes and Forest Service partners over the years, and obviously reflecting on the legacy of our history, and the ability to, at that up top level, as John Crockett talked about, the idea for some capacity for the tribes collectively to do, if it's in their interest, to do some visioning and support to define what that high context is. And so I don't know, so we'll pick up on that next week. And for those that, I feel I'm doing a bad job at this, but the high context, actually, Cody, I'm going to turn over to you and let you do a quick closeout and take that one out of my hands and do the better job I know you'll do with it.
All right, so again, I kind of mentioned this about an hour ago, but just appreciate everybody's participation and engagement. I know this shared stewardship concept has been in place for a couple decades, really, trying to look at how we best manage landscapes across all ownerships, how we incorporate the views and priorities of all of our partners to make sure that we're doing a great job for the country and all the respective users. So again, if there's questions between now and next Wednesday or Thursday, whenever we go again, please reach out to us and we will, to the best of our ability, answer them. And the ones that we can't answer, we will have some discussion with, because again, there's lots of intelligent people in the room and they may have some ideas or some experience that can help us.
Great. So with that, thanks everybody. Don't forget to take a look, how we can help. We can help you that much more with what you're able to bring to us to work with you next week. So if you have the time and the capacity, we appreciate you working on that. Reach out to us for whatever you need. And thank you so much. Happy, healthy, and safe weekend. I hope all of you.
And we've got a couple questions tracked. For folks that put tracked questions we didn't get to, we are looking through those and we will be following up via email, as well as incorporating that into the agenda for next week. So I know there's some discussions on the biomass, some other items. We'll be getting to those. We're not saying goodbye, just take a break, and we're gonna get some more stuff for you next week.
Don't forget to reach out. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Keith likes your duct tape army, Chaz.
I've been building duct tape armies for decades.
I thought it said duct tape Annie, and I was like, I need more story behind that.
I have my duct tape that I pull out of both of my pockets.
Tell me about this Annie.
Duct tape Chazzy.
So, Chaz, Stephanie, anything we need to do between now and next week?
Yes, but I'm probably going to need some time to think through what that looks like. We've got a lot of different questions and comments and asks. I think particularly Cody and the ITC folks, if you guys can be on tap to answer questions as folks come through. We've got Laura as the contact, so she can, you know, so you don't get inundated by 300 emails. I think there was a couple folks that are interested in more discussions, and we should talk about whether we want to bring that into this room or whether we want into the workshop, or if it's something that we need to think through as off ramp to additional discussions. And we talked a little bit about that, and Alyssa and I've already flagged that for the oversight committee to talk about on April 10th. But I'm sensing some tension from folks of wanting to find out how they can get some of that more information. So we might want to think about, so the examples are the 638 biomass, the RTL monies, the good neighbor, what was the other one? There was one in particular in California that Phil's done, anchor forests. So maybe thinking through how we can connect that subject matter expertise with folks so that they can answer their questions and go from there. Folks are really getting caught up on, you know, they're like you said, Chaz, like, okay, let's look through the whole life cycle of a project plan. And you've got the interests, the project, they're all getting hung up on where's the funding. Yeah. So they're thinking through where they know there's funding opportunities and how to get their project into that. So we might need to address that sooner rather than later.
I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, Cody, I haven't figured out what that looks like, but I think just being available for you guys makes the most sense. And then thinking through how we can develop that that collaboration and lessons learned overview that we're doing on March 30th. And then Chaz had an idea, and I'm going to work with her on that, but I don't know if there's any tribal reps or nonprofits you guys want to target of just putting it together a panel on different funding opportunities of thinking through like going big, looking at, you know, entrepreneurial and you know, granting folks that are interested in climate change. They're interested in supporting resilient forests, and they have money. They just need a place to put it as a way to help folks focus and bring in some resources.
There was a fair bit of discussion about that in my group.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Alicia.
That begs a question. That's an interesting question. I have that placeholder for private philanthropy, essentially. I think there's some, I have to think about that. There, philanthropic dollars donated to a tribe to do work on the forest system. I just need to unpack that for a minute.
And I told them that was probably the simpler mechanism, that tribes contracting mechanisms are substantially easier than the federal system. So if there's a way to consider those tribal contributions, I don't know if there's any limitations depending on where the funding's coming from.
I'm all for sucking the life out of every major philanthropic organization in the country, because tribes are historically the most underfunded. So yeah, anyway, keep going.
There's not public access. They don't like to give us money.
Private will, but yeah, still it's a thing for sure.
Well, it's Forest Service lands. Technically, there is public access. Yeah. So,
but looking at, say, tribal lands, for example, like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, we've got a great elk herd, but we've never seen $1 from Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation because nobody else can hunt them but us.
Which might be why you have a great elk herd, Cody.
It is a worthwhile trade-off.
We had a lot. We didn't have any figure out your project. We had a lot of weird questions like that too. Weird questions. That's a, you know, things. Alaska is special. I mean, they're thinking creatively, and that's where we spent our time. Was just thinking through. Would that work? I don't know. Maybe it might. All right.
Sorry, I
Even
popped
people
off.
in Alaska don't seem to understand Alaska very well. That whole.
I'm going to hop, but the one thing I was going to suggest is that the idea of sort of staying on our target here and really being clear about the off ramp. So I think my recommendation would be to move through to help get the folks that we made the commitment to move through, and take all that off-ramp stuff and have a minute to think about it to be as cohesive as you can on how you move forward. Because I think there's that whole, going back to that teaching everybody to fish question also about like the path forward isn't just everybody necessarily learning. What other options do you have? So I apologize, I have to hop, but I'll circle back to you later, Stephanie.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Thanks.
So I think what I need to put together is a good email for folks of homework. And so I think part of that is I have a really rough sketch of a criteria that I will send out to y'all. Okay, suddenly I've become a Texan, y'all. Speaking of,
I say it all the
fun
time.
accents. Well, you know, I have family that were born in Texas, so there you go. Well, that's not what I wanted to show you. So just helping, because we've got folks that are like, they've got approved TFPA proposals and they're trying to get into the whole 638, but then we've got a lot of folks, you know, we know we got the Leech Lake and the Chippewa and we want them to be successful, but we need more than just like the 2 or 3 folks that are there. So I want to help folks understand, you know, what they need to be doing between now and next week. There's a couple folks that like, we've got the tribe or we've got the forest, but we don't have both. Because they were kind of late to the party. We've got the 30 where we connected them, but we need to get them identifying some shared interests together, thinking through some project ideas and get them out of the like, well, how will we fund it? So what I was gonna do is, you know, kind of give them this checklist that looks, it's basically gonna be a combination. It's basically gonna take Chaz's sample plan and plug in the TFPA requirements that folks need to talk about, as well as the 638 agreement components that they need to talk about. So they've got a project plan that they could use for shared stewardship, but they could easily flank it into a 638 project. So that's going to take some work for me. If anybody wants to help me or be eyes on it, please do so, because I've got to get it out to folks probably by tomorrow at the latest. Well, because they need the time to work on it before we meet again on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And especially a lot of folks don't work on Fridays in Indian land.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay if they're not there yet and they're still working on it next week. I think we have room for that. We have very limited in-room facilitators. I mean, we have 6 or so, but we need to make sure that we are putting them in the rooms where they're needed and we have folks that can kind of self-start on their own. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, that would be great. Otherwise, I'm gonna put that tool together and send it out and hope it's useful.
Do you need more facilitators? I mean, if I can, or is it?
The facilitators are subject matter experts.
I think we need more subject matter experts.
Mm-hmm.
Folks are getting used to kind of self-facilitating, taking their own notes. That they're on the annotation. Like I was worried folks were going to really struggle with that annotation thing, but everybody's just like on it.
Give me the pen, give me the mouse.
Yeah, let me show you where I want to do it. So I think the main issue is going to be the subject matter experts. We need more. We need state and private forestry. We need Forest Service collaborative folks. I think Chaz sent an email. Those are the type of subject matter experts we need in to help folks think creatively about partnerships and getting projects off the
State and
ground.
private. Who do you want from state and private? Biomass?
I think anyone we can get on the topics we've talked about.
Well, that's not going to be state and private.
I was just throwing state and private as one option, but
I mean, tribal, but not, the active management stuff.
Let me see. I have a list.
I can maybe hoover up a couple volunteers. Did we lose facilitators?
We lost a few facilitators. They're coming back next week.
Okay.
Today's a rough day. I mean, Cody, I think you jumped in on 3 or 4 meetings back and forth, and thank you for coming to our workshop.
I owe Reed on that one. Reed got me first on the agenda, which I kind of feel bad about because we always defer that to like tribal leaders, chairwomen's. But I was first to set the stage, so I was done in like 10 minutes.
You
awesome.
you missed all the best parts, Cody. It was a very interesting conversation, to say the least, in a good way. I need from you all. Stephanie, I would normally volunteer to help you out, but I need all the chat notes to
Yep.
do my task, right? That you
Most
want?
of those are from yesterday, and Alyssa literally sent me the email, so we can just forward it over to you, like right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We'll pull today's and just
I'll-
add it on. It's not much.
Okay, good. If there's not much there, what do you need? Do you need someone to look at what you're pulling together?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it makes sense because I've been doing this so long. I'm like, oh, well, you do this and then you do this and you do that. And people are like, what are you talking about, Stephanie? So I just need someone to take a look and make sure that.
Send it to me.
Okay.
All right.
I don't want
gotta-
to overstimulate you so you fall down.
Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Laura.
Bye, Cody.
Bye.
Welcome. See ya.
Yeah. So
Stephanie,
yeah,
I
I'll
can-
send that to you guys. Glenn, you're volunteering. What can you do?
Yeah, I can look
What
at
do
it
you
for
want
you too.
for,
I mean,
Glenn?
if that's helpful. So, no, I'm happy to look at it too, if it's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some things I've got to pull together. We have plenty of resources. It's just helping folks walk through and like pulling them out and start writing their stuff in there. You know, that's the thing. So
That would be, I need to do that, is pull out those pieces of paper and just have those in front. Just have them, just tick through them with the folks in the room. Alaska is going to be, they're already doing TFPA, right? I mean, conceptually.
essentially,
But there's a lot of hangups. And truth be told, Glenn, part of our challenge is we need federal Indian law attorneys in some of these things, and we don't have them. So
we need Alaskan specialists on federal
Right.
Indian law because I'm a federal Indian law attorney and I can tell you I don't know jack about Alaska stuff.
Oh no! Oh God! Alaska is like its own universe. No, I have. Let's see here. Oh, I can't put my hands on it. Here it is. This is what you do. Whoops! I can't see it.
Alaska Natives and American Laws. All right, pulling
This
that puppy
is
out.
the Case and Volokh book. You cannot even say the word Alaska out loud unless you have a copy of this book.
Only 2 or 3 inches thick, probably, right?
All the law books are that way. Yeah, Stephanie, if you're doing any work up there, that's your definitely ticket. All right, so you're going to send me chat. You're going to send something to look at. Oh, I got that one too. Yeah. And then I have all the Forest Service books at $300 a pop. Go ahead, Glenn.
Well, in thinking about next week and the funding part of it, so I had the Eastern group, which was Eastern Band of Cherokee, which is interesting. I just don't think they're quite ready yet. The forest is thinking about management for certain species, for white oak, for baskets and things. And so it's a good conversation, but I think I missed out on some of the more advanced things there, in some of the other groups. But so I don't know how much the funding issue came up, but one of the things I need to work with Gary and see if we can get something teed up for, I guess for Barney, if he's going to join the group next Thursday to say a few things. I guess, don't want him to promise too much, but I think there needs to be some engagement. We've just kind of tap danced around that, up to this point. Anyway, Alicia, go ahead.
So on that note, I don't know if did you catch the chief's opening comments yesterday, Rona time. Yesterday.
Last week.
I mean, right, I don't know when it was. Right. She said some words at some point. I'm hanging my hat on that, right? I mean, those talkers that I sent to you about programmatic investments, I mean, I don't know, how did you hear that, Stephanie and Alyssa? Did that sound prioritizing investments?
It sounded like we need to put our money where our mouth is and work with tribes and fund it.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, I just left that consultation that wasn't a consultation. It was a listening session because I wanted to bring staff in. I can't count the times I heard TFPA and funding to both the chief and the undersecretary and the secretary's office, mind you. So there was, in fact, here, I do need to get all these notes together for you, Glenn. I think I promised Gary I would do that. Talking about, I'm trying to get past all the fluffy stuff. Heard, this is Chris French, needing to fund TFPA and biomass for, subsistence, all of that stuff, firewood. They roped in a whole bunch of stuff, but these were his takeaways, is the need to fund TFPA and biomass work. Somebody called out the biomass demos, by the way, during the consultation. I'm looking here. Deeper inventory of our systems, processes, and lifting of our tribal relationships. That was the chief. So this is all this zeitgeist that I've been talking about. We should probably capture the chief's comments, the consultation comments, Glenn, for Barney on next week. Another project.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to assume that, well, I don't know who's speaking, but if the chief and Chris know that Barney's coming next week, that would probably be a good thing. I can daylight that. I'll daylight that.
Make sure they don't make any April Fool's jokes. We're committed to this. April Fools.
Right.
That won't be funny.
That would not be funny. That would not be funny.
And I could just see someone just trying to be lighthearted and not thinking. So just throw that out there as a cautionary tale.
No. Yeah, exactly. So I am feeling, Stephanie knows, I don't know, Glenn, if you know, I mean, I'm not afraid to be, I quote chapter and verse. If people say things out loud, I'm the echo chamber. Remember that day when you said this? Well, funny you should mention, we have all these TFPA projects lined up. So let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's it. This is the TFPA projects. Here we go. We got TFPA projects. Come fund them. Come fund them.
Well, there's a whole lot of angst internally on a whole lot of budget issues in the Forest Service right now. But at the end of the day, I don't know what to say about that. TFPA.
Yep.
It's the message is coming through loud and clear. And the undersecretary was really appreciative of all the support from this administration and reinforcement of the work that we're doing with TFPA. So
that's good.
I got a lot of talking points. So that said, there's no reason that we can't explore. At this, believe it or not, I am less. I am more hopeful about funding than I am about the policy, right? Even though that sounds pretty good. I mean, we need legislative fixes. We need this, that, and the other thing. The energy's there, but I feel like the money will be an easier break. And if there's a couple of bills that pass, shut up. Just shut the door. We're done.
Yeah. Well, and I think the legislation, we need to show that it works, right? Worst case scenario, we get the legislation built into the next farm bill, but we need to show it works if we're going to actually get some of those movements. And we need funding to show that it works.
Well, I'm really hopeful. They've been talking about this Good Neighbor Authority fix, which ebbs and flows. I've seen a couple of runs at it, but I'm feeling pretty good about that these days too. And that's a revenue retention. I mean, that is the funding stays with it. So
two things, because I do want to get you guys off, and honestly, I need a nap.
Word.
So one is, we've toyed and talked about this a lot, and I don't know how quickly we can do it, but if we had it available, it'd be great, is that crosswalk of different funding sources for TFPA projects. Because we're talking about 638, folks are getting confused between a TFPA and a TFPA 638 agreement. And then they're like, but what about all these other funding sources folks are talking about? We hear about them, we'd like more information. So I feel like we need a crosswalk of those. I think we have one.
Well, I asked for one. There is a crosswalk that was put together by our grants and agreement staff. A couple months ago, it came up. I asked about it, but I don't know that anybody's moved on it. And Jason Coe is I might have to borrow his intern.
He's the one that asked for it, and it was a good idea and everybody loved it. So
no, he's asked for it. I sent the brochure up there. In fact, I think I added Lynn to him, like, hey, can we do this? And then I didn't hear back. So I'll follow up. I don't know. We won't get it done by next week, but it has been pitched. I have circled back at least once. I will circle back again.
Okay.
And I think we have, I'm going to pull together some resources. They're not I'm not the Forest Service funding person, but I'm the USDA funding. I can at least pull together. We have a
Okay.
catalog of all the funding available for USDA.
No, I think that'd be good because we could just let folks know, here's all the funding. You know, the issue is how to get a 638 to put it into there, or at least develop a project, right? I know Chaz is all about, we're supposed to roll out some 638 projects, but I'm also like, you know, I know we have a small amount of TFPA projects, but we just want TFPA or TFPA like. We got a lot of
Right.
TFPA like projects.
Right, and with that are easier, they're lower hanging fruit, marginally, I guess, at this point. But yeah, 638's been a really interesting, for the 2 years that we've been working on it. There's everyone's touching a different piece of the elephant, and it's kind of crazy. It's
Yeah.
And the Alaskans are, yeah, people don't. I think every opportunity we can make between, you have to have a TFPA to do a 638. Notwithstanding, I'm going to keep talking to the Alaskans. And then just do the TFPA, co-management. That's the universe we want to be in. Co-management. And we'll
Use TFPA and the TFPA proposal as a guidebook to get to co-management.
to do all of it. Exactly.
To all of it. And that's what I want to
called
try and capture in the message of, like, these are tools for collaborative partnerships.
Yeah.
At the end, if you fill them out, you could do a 638. You could also do
stewardship agreement.
neighbor, stewardship.
Exactly. It's almost like a universal application. One last thing, and we'll jump, Stephanie, is there's a parallel struggle on the tribal side of getting it. We are not the BIA, right?
Yeah.
We are not the Department of Interior. And that's a real struggle on the tribal side, because they're like, well, I don't get it. Just do this, just do that. It's like, this authority's on National Forest System lands. I've had people, in fact, it came up in one of the groups today or yesterday, of doing someone was using an example of a completely different agency like DOT, and how they had done an agreement. Well, what they did, this is a compacting tribe, but they did it through an MOU or something or other. At the end of the day, what they're doing is a federal agency pass through to BIA. And I'm not sure where the Forest Service is on that, Glenn. That's not my, at that point, then we have a relationship with BIA and not with the tribe. And so, but that's come up. So if there's kind of this movement like, well, just give the money to BIA and they'll give it to us and we'll go do whatever. And I'm not sure that that's a real workable solution.
I thought I thought our leadership landed on that one, Alicia, with why would we, have an intermediary there with BIA? We'd really want to see our own relationships with the tribe. So, directly. So that's where I thought we landed with that discussion.
Yeah. And nobody bring up IFLA accounts, please. I know you're familiar with these, Stephanie. Don't do it.
Yeah, I won't do it. I haven't. I've bypassed them, those conversations.
Somebody was inching that direction in the chat or something the other day. It's always a Californian every time, and I know why. Anyway, all right.
I think we all know why.
We know why. Glenn knows why now too. We've had a whole staff chat about that, haven't we, Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's it. We have work to do tomorrow, over the weekend.
Feeling
When do
okay
you
with
want
today? I was only able
Pardon
to
me?
get into California. Is everybody feeling good? I wasn't able to get into the other discussions. I have no idea how those discussions went.
California and Alaska both brought up the biomass, which Alaska is a little bit harder. But I thought I was square, but with all the authorities we have, I was like, let me look at that some more. Biomass, I think, is going to be, California's going to be, got to figure that out. Speaking of which, Scott Valley Pomo, Glenn, remember them? The California biomass proposal that's been floating around?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were in the consultation too. Had a lot to say.
Okay.
Indian country is a very small world. It's a small place, ultimately. So, all right. How soon do you need me to get this chat room question thing back to you all, Stephanie and Alyssa?
I mean, it'd be nice if we could answer questions to folks early next week. I mean, Alyssa, have you sent Alicia that chat room? The one you sent me last night, and then we can just give her what we got today because today's minimal chat.
Yeah, I have not yet, but I can do that before the top of the hour.
If I can get it to you on Monday, that's fine by me. Does that work?
Yeah, no, I don't need it by today. I mean, we really just need it in prep for Tuesday so that we can say, here, you know, there's some questions, we've answered them.
Yep.
We need, and I think even putting it in the tone of like off-ramping people, like we want you to do the planning process, the collaborative planning process here, connecting, and we'll give you as much information we can as connecting it to the funding sources and getting from planned proposal and project to on the ground. But you need to do the plan proposal first. You can't just be thinking about ideas and not have something to walk out the door with. And that's what Chaz was getting. Hopefully she made that clear today. Like,
so unless you're asking me whether or not moving black-footed prairie dogs somewhere, you're going to the off-ramp. I mean, there needs to be that. There needs to be an activity associated with the TFPA project is our focus. Any of the rest of it were off ramp.
Yeah, which this week was all about ideas and concepts. What we need to message to folks, and make sure I actually put this in the follow-up, is we need some project ideas. We want to do beaver restoration. We want to do,
I think,
plant.
That would be good message. That would be really good messaging throughout, is to say at any point during the day, reminder, we want you to leave these sessions with a project to work on, a concept, whatever. I mean, I know it's in all our material, but
it could be in any of that. We need to be past the ideas, and we need to be in the TFPA proposal drafting or the TFPA 638 or other agreement development.
And I think the facilitator questions were good. Those 3 questions, I have the agenda pulled up, but
thank you very much.
Okay, I got it. I'm doing some stuff. I'll get it to you by Monday. Have a great.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm gonna go do some stuff too. Maybe take a nap first.
Go take a nap, Glenn.
Thanks, Stephanie. You've been doing a great job.
I know. You're like Val Gadot in that movie with the lasso. You're like her.
Yeah.
Like Wonder Woman? Gal Gadot?
Wonder Woman, there you go.
Yes. Glenn, I'll try to catch you tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
You're
Thanks.
awesome.
Thanks, Alyssa.
You're awesome. Love you.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Bye.
Alyssa, you're a godsend. You're muted. I can't hear you say how great you are.
Thanks. I'm saying just keep that up. Don't mind hearing that. Yeah, thanks for your help and coordination today. I'm just, we can log off, but we're recording that whole thing.